When I say the word accessibility, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably a ramp. And yeah, that's a huge symbol, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. The real story of access is written in these tiny little details that most of us never ever notice. The exact slope of a sidewalk, the amount of force it takes to open a door, or even how bright a room is. These are the details that really matter. So, if it's not just about a ramp or an automatic door, what is it? What does it actually look like? How do you even begin to measure something that can feel so subjective? How do we get past one person's opinion and find a real legal standard that makes a space work for absolutely everyone? Well, believe it or not, the answer starts right here, in this bag. This is the ADA CAT Toolkit, and for the next few minutes, this is going to be our detective kit. Every single tool inside is designed to uncover a specific clue about how accessible a space is, turning those vague feelings into cold, hard data. And that gets us to the absolute core of this. An accessibility assessment isn't about asking, hey, can I get in? It's a standards-based measurement, and it's all based on the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. What these tools do is take all the guesswork out of the equation. They give us a consistent, objective, and legally defined way to measure access. All right, let's dive in. We're going to start with the barriers you think are the most obvious. The physical ones, the things that actually get in our way. These are the things we can see and touch. But as you're about to find out, we often don't truly notice them until we have the right tool for the job. And our first tool is this, the story stick. Its name is a really cool throwback to history. See, before tape measures were a thing, master carpenters would use these story poles with all the key measurements for a building marked right on them. This stick does the same thing, but it tells the story of accessibility. And that sparkly wheel? Yeah, that's totally on purpose. It's designed to grab your attention and start a conversation. But its real job is this wheel right here. It's about the same size as a front caster on an ultralight wheelchair, and it is incredibly sensitive. As you roll it along, it gives you this really distinct thump whenever it hits a change in level as small as 1/4 of an inch, which happens to be the maximum vertical change the ADA allows. It's a barrier you might not even see, but this tool can definitely feel it. Now, here's what's so clever about this thing. It's not just a bump detector. The whole shaft is marked up with these crucial ADA measurements, so you can instantly check if a table has the required 27 inches of knee clearance, or you can see if a bench seat is in that sweet spot between 17 and 19 inches high. It's basically a quick, on-the-spot, pass-fail test on a stick. Okay, so bumps and heights, we've got that covered. But what about something you can't really see? Something you can't just put a ruler against? How do you know if a ramp is just a tiny bit too steep without having to bust out a calculator and do a bunch of math? You use this ridiculously clever little invention, the magic slope block. And the process is so simple. It works with a regular spirit level. You just place the block downhill on the ramp, rest the level on top of it, and then check the bubble. If it's in the center or it drifts towards the block, the slope passes. If it moves away, it fails. That's it. No ratios, no trigonometry, just a simple, clear answer. So, we've covered the path itself, but what about the things we have to actually interact with as we move through a space? Let's talk about the invisible forces. I mean, a door that's too heavy to open, or a lock that's too stiff to turn, can make an entire building completely off limits, even if the path to get there is perfect. Check this out. This is a door force tool. It looks pretty simple, but its job is critical. It measures pushing force in pounds. Because what feels light to one person can be an absolute, immovable object to somebody else. This tool just replaces that subjective feeling with an objective, undeniable number. Now, the key to using it right is a slow, steady push. If you just jab it at the door, inertia can mess up your reading. You have to increase the pressure gradually, nice and smooth, until the door just begins to move. For a lot of interior doors, that force can't be more than about 5 pounds. And here's the really elegant part. As you push, this little block O-ring slides along the scale and it stops right at the point of maximum force. So when you pull the tool away, the ring stays put, giving you a clear, precise reading. It's the perfect end of the story. You have the tool, you do the test, you get the result. The same idea applies to turning a key. This is the key torque tool, and the test for it is just pure genius. You slide it over a key that's in a lock, and you just let go. Seriously. If gravity itself is strong enough to turn the tool and the key, the lock passes. If the tool just stays there, horizontal, it means the lock is too stiff for someone with limited hand function. It brilliantly uses its own weight as the pass-fail test. Okay, so we've measured things we push, pull, and roll over. But accessibility barriers aren't just physical, right? They can be sensory too. How a space sounds and how well it's lit, these are absolutely critical parts of access. To measure these kinds of sensory barriers, we basically need to give ourselves superhuman senses. So on the left, we have a sound level meter, which measures volume in decibels. And on the right, a light meter, which measures illumination in lux. They let us put a number on what our own eyes and ears can only guess at. And that's so crucial, because our own perception is incredibly subjective. A room might seem bright enough to you, but for someone with low vision, it could be dangerously dim. An air conditioner might just sound like quiet background noise to you, but for someone with a hearing impairment, it could be a wall of sound making conversation totally impossible. These tools give us the raw data we need to make a space work for everyone. So we've looked at all these incredible tools that measure slopes, forces, light, sound, but why does this level of precision matter so much? It's because when it comes to accessibility, there's a very clear, legally defined standard for what's acceptable and what's not. So what score does a building need to get to be considered truly accessible? How good is good enough? Well, legally, the answer is this. This quote from the toolkit's own manual really says it all. The ADA guidelines, they define the minimum requirements. So think about what that means. Access isn't a grading curve. It's not about getting an A or a B+. It's a pass-fail test. And anything less than 100% compliance is, by definition, a fail. These tools do so much more than just measure things. They actually change how you see the world. They give you a whole new lens to look at the environment around you. So the next time you walk through a door or down a sidewalk, just think about this. What invisible barriers will you be able to see now?